you see that the Alhambra, the Cordova, all these beautiful cities that the Muslims left behind, buildings, beautiful buildings, and fountains in disuse. That's the only thing that there is that one can see in Spain. Besides the bullfights, if you're interested in bullfights, that they can show bullfights. And the women, when they do the dancing, they have something on the fingers called castanets. They make kit, you know, when they... Besides that, there's nothing in Spain except the buildings that our forefathers left. That's all that there is to see. But for 800 years, Allah gave them a mighty long inning to do the job. No, they won't do the job. You know why? Because proud, arrogant. So these Spanish people, pig eaters, what can they understand about Islam? Drunkards. What can they understand about Islam? That's the mentality. We have the same. You see, when I'm talking about something, think whether we are in the same sickness we have, the sickness that they have. These colored people, what can they understand about Islam? Huh? You know the amount of alcoholics in South Africa. Their alcoholic rate is 5 times that as of any other race in the country. Can they understand anything about Islam? At the slightest pretext, you know, they're ready to bash you. On one of my trips, I was in Elsie's River. I think Brother Muhammad, he had his supermarket there, and we just got the message that the power failed. So he went at some cranking machines to work the tills. So he said, come on, let's go. So we went. So he was giving the cranking machines, to work the till because the power was not working. So I'm standing there looking, and I see an African there, and somehow I found seemed to be quite an intelligent African. So I'm telling him, I said, these people here, I can't make out the difference whether these people are Muslim or not. There's no indication. So he tells me, he says, sir, I lived here in Elsie's River before they pushed us out to Guguletu and Langa and whatever. Before they pushed us, we used to live among them. And I can tell you, very easy to find the difference. He said, how? He said, you see, about 3 times these coloreds, they bashed me up for no reason. Drink and they say, bash up kafir, bloody kafir. These Malay people, they're very good people. They don't do that. That's his way of identifying the color and the Malay. Otherwise we look the same. Am I right? Look, in your looks, there is no difference. Wallah, there is no difference. In your surname, there is no difference. In your language, there is no difference. The only thing that indicates that you are a Muslim is when I see the kufya on your head, I say, no, this guy is a Muslim. Otherwise, how can I know? No? Mrs. Johnson visits me, Johnson. I say, are you Muslim? She says, yes. I said, what's your husband? He says, also Johnson. He says, a Muslim. I said, yes. I said, where do you live? He said, on Johnson Road. No, really, there's no... So my husband is a journalist. Johnson, I have to ask again and again, Muslim? Your husband Muslim? No indication. Mr. Hendricks. What's Hendricks? You have a Christian Hendricks, a Muslim Hendricks. If I'm wrong, you must correct me. Okay? Muslim Brown, our Qadi tonight, is a Muslim Brown, and we have a Christian Brown. Am I right? Look, that means this is what our slave masters gave our forefathers. We still carry those names. In looks, when I went to the Habibia, in my previous trips, Hanif Ali was a principal. He tells me, he said, look, he's taking me through the different classes. And he said, look, just watch the features of these children in the different classes. So I'm just scanning, Assalamu alaikum, alaykum salam, the children respond. I'm watching the features. Next class. Next class. From pure black to pure white. And our group areas, if I was an inspector, say, you should be in an African school. And you should be in a white school. What the hell are you doing here? From pure black to pure white. Among us. Muslims all. Then I go to Stellenbosch. There was a Mr. Gabriel. He was a teacher and we were talking. He takes me to his school, colored school. He didn't tell me anything, but I was doing the same thing. Scanning the children. Wallah, from pure black to pure white. Same. That means that your looks can't give me any indication what you are. It's only if you have a kufiya on, I said, no, this guy is a Muslim. Otherwise, no. Otherwise, the other man says the behavior. Can the coloureds understand anything about Islam? The Bushman in the Kalahari, you think he can understand anything about Islam? The Hottentot, can he? No, backward people, ignorant people, what can they understand? That mentality prevailed in Spain. These pig eaters, the Spanish people, these wine bibbers, the Spanish people, what can they understand? That arrogance. I am telling, I say, your forefathers could? Were your forefathers, I'm talking to the Arab, were they worse than the Spanish people? Never. Your forefathers, the Arabs, of the Ayyam al-Jahiliyyah, of the days of ignorance before Islam, they married their stepmothers. Did the Spanish people do that? No. These Arabs, they were marrying their stepmothers. Father died, he inherited his wife as well. They buried their daughters alive. Did the Spanish people do that? No. You were drunkards, adulterers, gamblers, the worst of human creatures. That Gibbon, the master historian, describes the Arabs before Islam. He says the human brute, almost without sense, is poorly distinguished from the rest of the animal creation. The only thing that makes him different from the animal is the form. This form. Fi ahsani taqweem. Allah has made you in the best of form. Otherwise, animal and worse than animals. You, your forefathers. And Allah could change you through His book, His wahi, His revelation, the Quran. He can't change the Spanish people. No. For 800 years, you could do nothing. Look, the white man has done the job. In 300 years, he has Christianized the nation. This in Africa, South Africa has the biggest percentage of Christians in the whole of Africa. If Libya boasts highest percentage of Muslims, South Africa boasts the highest percentage of Christians. The white man, he did the job. Among the you carry colored identity. Among all those who carry colored identity, the majority of them are Christians. The African majority are Christians. The white majority are Christians. This is an ocean of Christianity. He did the job. We in 800 years, we couldn't make a scratch. Your pride, your arrogance, you didn't want to share. Allah says, you don't want to do your job? He said, "Fatarabbasu." You wait. And they waited. You know, the fools, they waited. Allah says, wait. You say you're following Allah's command. No, that wait was not waiting. It's a warning. So look out. So they start looking out. Another fool. Their language is like that at times. You say something, but you mean something else. Like a Frenchman learning English. He was trying to learn English, mastering English grammar. And he's sitting in a high rise building, skyscraper, sitting near the window and is trying to memorize his lessons. And he hears a shout, "Look out!" So he looked out and a brick grazed him. Lucky he didn't die. The guy said, "What the hell is this? I am told look out, so I look out." He said, "No, when we English people say look out, means pass off." It doesn't mean look out, pass off. You understand? Pass off. That's African. Pass off means look out. Pass off means it's a warning. Am I right? It's a warning. So that's a warning. Look out means be careful, be on guard. So he looked out, gets it in the head. Allah says, "Fatarabbasu." You wait. This is not waiting. It's a warning. Like you bully some little fellow here, and he tells you, "Uncle, you wait. I'll bring my brother." And his brother, you know, by reputation, is the biggest hooligan in this area. In Weinberg, who's Weinberg? Yeah, the biggest hooligan in Weinberg is his brother. I'm asking, will you wait? You'll wait for him. He said, "Look, you wait, uncle. I'll bring my brother and come." And you're going to wait. When you know his brother is the biggest hooligan in this area, biggest bully, you wait. No, he's telling you to wait, but you run for dear life. Because you know what to expect if he comes. So Allah says, "Fatarabbasu." You wait. Hatta ya'ti Allah bi amri, until Allah's decision comes about for your destruction. You wait for that. They waited for 800 years. Allah says you wait, and they waited. Allah is as-subur. He is long-suffering, patient. 800 years He gave you a chance to come right. And 800 years you didn't do the job. So it says, يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ. He will substitute in your place another people. ثُمَّ لَا يَكُونُ أَمْثَالَكُمْ. And they won't be like you, and he displaced them. Finished. Gone. Gone to the dogs. There was not one Muslim left after 800 years to give the azan. We are here for 300 years. Can you imagine after 300 years, wiped out to a man, not one guy left in this country to give the azan? Worse than that. After 800 years, not one fellow left in that country to give the azan. This is the punishment. You don't do your job, say, change, get out of the way, you're rubbish. You don't do your job, you don't deserve to be khayr ummatin. You come to Baghdad, Samarkand, Bukhara, and the Harun al-Rashid, Mamun al-Rashid, veritable fairyland. They created a veritable fairyland. The type of scenes, the buildings, and the gardens and the fountains that existed, you can't reproduce them anymore except on the screen. On screen you can do anything, in the films. In real life, no more. On the borders with the Mongols, barbarians. Will they deliver the message of Islam? No. What can they understand about Islam? Same with the Buddha, what can he understand? The Bushman, what can he understand? The Bantu, what can he understand? That's the mentality. Same. What can they understand about Islam? Barbarians. You? Were you better than they? Your forefathers? No. Allah's kalam could change you, but can't change them. That's right. Allah says, فَتَرَبَّصُوا. You wait. And they waited. At the very hands of these very people, Allah destroyed them. These same barbarians, they put the Muslims in the dark. Destroyed the Islamic empire utterly. That even today the shocks of that defeat is still not gone out of our blood. The shock of those defeats is not gone out yet. All these problems all that started there. The shocks of those defeats. They conquered us and they demoralized us utterly. History tells us, I'm ashamed even to tell you, history tells us that these Mongols, these barbarians, one guy alone, he can lead 100 Muslims like sheep and goats. One man alone can say, come on, go. A whole lot of, come on, move on. And he'll, like shepherding them. One guy can do it to 100. And it is told to us, history tells us, that the Muslims somehow, collided with one of these Mongols in the street. And the Mongol lost his temper. He said, bend down, I will chop off your head. The Muslim bent down. He says, I forgot my sword at home. He says, you wait, I'm coming. You wait, I'm coming. And the man went home, he brought his sword, the Muslim is still bent down, he's still waiting. So utterly demoralized, you can't even run away. This, you reach that stage, you didn't do your job. Now comes the punishment. That the man tells you, you bend down and wait till I get my sword to chop off your head and you can't even run away. Feel ashamed even to tell people, say, look, this is what had come to Muslims. Why? You didn't do your job. Allah says, يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ. He will substitute in your place another people. ثُمَّ لَا يَكُونُ أَمْثَالَكُمْ. And he substituted them. By these very Mongols, the Turks, later on they became Muslims. And they started helping the Muslims. But in the first instance, destroyed them all. Because you didn't do your job. We Muslims, we ruled India for 1,000 years. 1,000 years we ruled India. Eventually when partition takes place, the Muslim gets 1/4, the Hindu gets 3/4. Why? You didn't do the job. You didn't do the job. And even now you don't want to do the job. Even today, wallah, the only solution to the Muslims of India, my motherland, there are 150 million Muslims, they are a minority. Unimaginable. A minority of 150 million? 5 times the total population of South Africa, men, women and children, Indian, African, coloreds and whites, all put together, 5 times that amount of Muslims in India, and they are a minority. And they can do nothing. Daily, average of 3 riots are taking place against the Muslims every day. Nobody will believe you. In my own motherland. Why? You didn't do the job. Today, Solution to your problem is deen. Propagate. No, you won't do it. You want excuses. He said, look, we are not perfect ourselves. What an excuse. Look at us. How many of us got beards? It's very few. How many of us come for salah 5 times a day? Very few. You expect today we are 1,000 million. You expect everybody to be angels? Everybody to have standard-sized beards? Everybody to wear kurtas? Huh? Is it possible? 1,000 million? All become 5-time prayers? You don't sin anymore? You don't drink, don't govern, nothing? Yeah, you are perfect angels? 1,000 million? You know what will happen? Yawm al-Qiyamah. Allah doesn't need that. He doesn't need all angels walking this earth. He's got plenty of angels saying Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. He wants you and me, that you fall. You make a mistake and you cry. He loves that. He loves that. Everybody is an angel. Like robots, 5 times a day we are here. Fasting, we are perfect. Zakat, we are perfect. Everything, we are perfect. That's right. He says, wipe you out. Finish. Okay, Jannah is there for you. He doesn't need you. That type of people who do that, Suri, Subhanallah, Tasbih, Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. He's got billions of angels doing that. What is going to do with you? He doesn't need you. Wallah, he doesn't need you. He wants you as you are. Fall down, wake up, cry. Walk again. Fall down, wake up, cry. He loves that. Not to say that we must become sinners. You make an effort. That's what he wants. He knows that you are weak. وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا says he's made man weak. You are weak. He knows you are weak. He appreciates your shortcomings. He appreciates you falling down and trying to get up. Good enough in his sight. But when will the day come that we are all perfect? Never. Never. Wallah, never. You can never be 1,000 million angels walking this earth. And you're waiting for that before doing your job. In the meantime, the enemy is going to wait for you. You want to become perfect here before opening your mouth. You want to propagate Islam because you're not perfect. I want to know, when will all the Malays be perfect? And the Indian Muslims, you know, the Parkars and what the Paflankar and Bandarkars all become perfect. When? Is it possible? No. Then you'll never start. In the meantime, the Christian is making inroads. He's stealing our children. In so many different ways, we are losing. By marriage, we are losing. You go and marry a colored girl, nominally you convert her, nominally. Make her to read the kalima, shahada. Make her to say, teach her to say salam alaikum. And then the marriage breaks up. Where does she go? With your Fatmas and your Khadijas and your Muhammads, where does she go? Back to her aunties and her grannies. Your Muhammads and Fatmas and Khadijas are going to church. You know that? We have lost thousands like that. Thousands we have lost. You die, where does she go? Back to her aunties and her grannies. And your Fatmas and Muhammads and Khadijas are getting Christianized. Thousands we have lost. Now, so careless we are. Just going the name. Take her to the Shah. Make her to read the kalima, shahada. I said, you want to marry this man? Say, yeah, nikahu min sunnati, faman raghiba an sunnati, falaysa minni, kama qala. So right, okay, now you got the license, go and procreate. My dear children, my young people, I'm very happy tonight. I see so many young faces. In the other places I didn't find so many young faces. When you take that step, make sure that this wife that you're going to convert, you can make her a better woman, better Muslimah than your mother at home, than your sister at home. If you can't do that, don't tempt Providence, don't take a chance. Unless you can make her better than your mother at home, better than your sister at home, which you can't. Which you know. This is just a conversion of convenience. That everybody says that she's a Muslim now. What Muslim? Do you pray in the house? No. You think she's going to pray? No. You yourself are not good Muslim. How are you going to make her a good Muslimah? Your family is not good Muslim. You know. We know. How are you going to make her a good Muslimah? So losses upon losses, losses upon losses. Excuse for not propagating. What do you say? We are not perfect. In India, solution to your problem is to propagate. They won't. They won't propagate. This is the answer to your problem, wallah. And there is a group of people. There are a group of people there whom we consider to be of the lowest rung of the ladder. You just woo them with a little gentleness. Wallah, you can just gather them in. I went to my motherland after 50 years. I left that country in 1927. I returned to that country in 77 after 50 years. I did go. Then I go to one of the villages. And in that village I saw that the natives of the place, they look like us. They haven't got woolly hair, but they do the menial work for us. The native of the place, they are hero worshipping us. We are like gods. Like the Afrikaner is like a god. To us, oh bas, bas. Same thing there, that Indian, the laborer, is looking up to us like a god. So I says, man, that's very good. Very good relationship. That means you can just call them. You just call them and they hearken to you. They dare not refuse. So I'm telling my host, I said, look, in the village, tell them that all these laborers, I want them to come tomorrow morning with the wives and the children. Come here tomorrow morning. I want to talk to them. By royal command, as if they were all there, wallah. Next morning, all the men and the women and the children, they are there. Seated on the ground in the dust. I sit on the little stool and I speak to them, telling them about my origin. My forefathers were also Hindus. Originally, they were every Indian. For 5,000 years we were Hindus. I don't know whether you know. Your great-grandfathers were Buddhists. The Malaysian, Indonesians, they were Buddhists. Nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing. We should be proud that Allah Bari Ta'ala gave them Hidayah. Today we are Muslims. Otherwise we would be still worshipping Buddha and so many other things. So I started explaining how we became Muslim and how Islam welcomes them all. I spoke in Urdu because that man didn't understand English, the villager. So I had to speak in my broken Urdu and he translated into that native language, whatever I was saying. Within the hour, they all want to become Muslim. Just be taught and light-hearted chat and they all want to become Muslim. So I'm telling my host, इनको मुसलमान बनाओ. I said, convert them. So he says, हमारे लिए काम कौन करेगा? He said, who's going to work for us? So if you become Muslim, you can't work. Huh? A Muslim can't plow the field. A Muslim can't sweep the street. A Muslim can't chop the wood. What do you mean? He said, who's going to work for us? That means now you want to keep them there. You can exploit them better. You don't want to make them your brothers. The result? Destruction. Wallah, inviting destruction. The people are there, here. There are people here. Wallah, there are people here. I'm not talking about the missionary who comes and knocks at your door. The missionary who comes and knocks at your door, he's got vested interests. There's livelihood, respect in his community for doing the job. He comes and knocks at your door and he wants to convert you. He wants to convert you. There's something valuable. Well, if he gets a Muslim, it's something achieved. Like in my part of the world, Natal and the Transvaal, if they get one of my nation, it's a diamond that he's got. The others, the Madrasis, the Tamils, the Telugus, is cheaper by the dozen. It's not the same value, it's like a ton of coal. One diamond is worth more than a ton of coal any day. So it's a pride. He says, I got a Deedat fellow, I got a Lokhat fellow, I got a Parak. It means something. There's others cheaper by the dozen. So they're out. We are a challenge. The Muslim is a challenge. 300 years they tried. They hammered your people for 300 years. They change your language, they change your culture, they change your names. But you retain Islam. You happen to be one of the most militant Muslim communities in the world. You can only compare yourself with the Malays in Singapore and the Malays in Malaysia. They are jellyfishes. Your cousins and your fathers, your uncles, they are like jellyfishes compared to you. You are as hard as steel. That hammering has done you good. You didn't like it, but it has done you good. Wallah, it's made militant people out of you. What are we going to do? You were brought here against your will. Your forefathers didn't come here. My forefathers did. They came because they were starving in India. They thought, South Africa easier living than there in India. We were starving, so they came. I came in 1927, and I know what I went through. I didn't have shoes. I had a calico shirt hanging outside and a calico trousers. I didn't own a handkerchief. The handkerchief was only the rich people. They used to keep it here for ornament. When you saw a man, that means he's somebody. He had a handkerchief here. My handkerchief was my coat. In winter, when father bought me a coat, I used this as a handkerchief. When the nose is wetted, it's coming down, drops are falling. Wallah. After eating, you wash your face. What do you do? This thing is shining, this thing is shining. Shine, they shine. It's all that's constant. No, it's all shining. And nobody in my life ever told me, Ahmed, what's this? Nobody. Because they expected that. So what else can you do? Every other boy had the same, all this shiny, 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 shiny. We came because we were starving. You were brought here because the Dutch, when they conquered your country, Indonesia originally, those of your forefathers who were fighting for their freedom, they were captured as prisoners of war and shipped to the Cape of Good Hope and sold to the white men as slaves.